Hi, Mr. Ambassador. Welcome to our Bureau, and thank you for taking your time, sharing your time with us. I just want to start with the first question, naturally, that comes to my mind is about very good news that Armenia had earlier this month, that the EU Foreign Affairs Council gave the European Commission a special mandate to start negotiations with Armenia on a new legal basis. Mr. Ambassador, would you tell us what we can expect from these new negotiations? Is this going to be some sort of a lighter version of a previous agreement with association agreement with EU, or perhaps some elements from DCFTA? What is this?
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, thank you for the invitation. And I'm very happy to be with you here and to have this conversation. I'm very privileged that my arrival to Armenia coincided with the decision to start negotiations on a new overarching agreement. I hope this agreement will be finalized soon. I hope that this agreement will open a new chapter in our relations. It's too early to say how fast and with what contents the negotiations will end up. We are starting on the premise that the new agreement will have to take into account the new realities, and in particular the fact that Armenia is now part of another economic integration framework. However, I wouldn't call the new agreement a lighter version of DCFTA. DCFTA was based on another logic, the logic of approximation. It was based on the assumption that the countries which are parties to the agreement would move closer to the European Union, also in terms of economic relations and trade relations. But we believe that the political part of what was negotiated before the Vilnius summit between the European Union and Armenia should stay intact. And in this regard, there cannot be any lighter version of the political part containing elements relating to democracy, rule of law, and human rights. Here we should take what we negotiated before and adopt it without, I hope, long negotiations. Another story is trade and economic relations. Of course, here we cannot talk about tariffs. We cannot talk about things which are now in the new realities faced by Armenia, delegated to another structure. Nevertheless, what I wanted to say is that we should look at the new agreement as a very important political development, which will constitute not the ceiling, but the floor for the relations between the European Union and Armenia. Therefore, we should take it as a springboard to make our relations richer and more productive.
Mr. Ambassador, are there any worries or fears or concerns that this effort also could become, this effort of bringing Armenia closer to EU could be derailed by another unexpected or, unpredictable geopolitical or other events, like it happened in September 2013, September 3rd? As we know, Armenia, as we remember, under the pressure of Russia, at least some government officials are claiming, under the heavy pressure of Russia, so Armenia gave up this association agreement and, just refused to sign it. Well, are you sure that this cannot happen this time?
The European Union will conduct the negotiations on its part in good faith. When we start negotiations, we aim at concluding them with success. And here there is no change in our position. Neither now nor before, the European Union didn't try to impose anything on Armenia or on any other partner. However, the lesson of pre-Vilnius developments is clear, and I hope that this time the Armenian authorities know their margin of maneuver, know exactly how far they can engage with the European Union. And I hope that everything what we will be negotiating will be based on a sovereign decision of Armenia. So yes, I'm pretty confident judged by the signals that I have received personally at my meetings with the President, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister and other ministers, that Armenia is ready for the negotiations and Armenia wants to finalize the negotiations as soon as possible. That was the message that I have received, and I take them at face value. I take them in good faith, so I hope this time we will have the agreement not only negotiated, agreed, but also adopted and implemented.
We hope so, Mr. Ambassador. I just remember from my past experience that we were almost there. Very similar situations. Very confident EU officials, but in the end the result was disastrous, and I remember that. And now, do we have any indication about Russia's position on this Armenia-specific case? Actually, this is like a newly designed formula of, you know, Eastern Partnership country getting closer with EU with another form of legal, you know, framework. Could this be a like sort of test case for you, for other partner countries in this region? And do you, is there any indication Russia is jealous or what? What is it? Do you have any official contacts on this matter, on Armenia's matter? Because I think this is very important. If Russians are on board, then this will happen. If they are really against that, then I believe that this cannot happen. What's your take on this, please?
I am confident that these negotiations will not be derailed through a third party, say, negative involvement. I can repeat what I have read in the Armenian newspapers or in the Armenian media, and the Armenian media quoted the statement by the Deputy Foreign Minister of the Russian Federation, and also a statement by my colleague, the Russian ambassador in Yerevan, which were very clear that Russia has nothing against the development of ties and between the European Union and Armenia. Russia has nothing against the negotiations on a new agreement between the European Union and Armenia. These were very clear statements, and I think that, again, Russia should be interested that Armenia has as many friends as possible, and the European Union is coming to Armenia as a friend. We are the biggest donor in Armenia. We are the biggest export market for Armenia. We are the biggest direct investor in Armenia, and it's quite natural, bearing in mind the role of the European Union in the Armenian economy, that we want to have a solid contractual basis for our relations. So I hope that this time we will avoid complications and sudden turnarounds.
But still, we don't have any official channels, any communication about this issue, like between Brussels and Moscow, not, or you cannot disclose.
No, it's the policy of the European Union to negotiate with our partners. We don't involve third parties in any negotiations on bilateral treaties or bilateral agreements. That is something which comes as a principle. Therefore, we cannot have a third party participating in the bilateral negotiations between the European Union and Armenia. Therefore, what we can have is what I referred to. And that's, I think, enough.
Yes. Mr. Ambassador, what are the benefits of this new deal that is now being under the negotiations? So can you be specific on it? On in what way are ordinary Armenians, for example, can benefit from getting closer association with the EU? Are they going to have more jobs, more opportunities, more income, better education, healthcare, or some other advantages? Mr. Ambassador.
The agreement will not contain any magic wand. The agreement will not contain any instrument which will change the life of Armenians overnight. No, it's not like this, and you know it very well.
I'm asking just the question of ordinary man. I know that they would like me to ask you that question. That is why I'm asking. If there is any specifics that you can disclose, please do so.
I cannot disclose anything because we haven't started yet the negotiations. What we did preparing for the negotiations was the so-called scooping exercise, which means that we examined the contents of DCFTA draft from the point of view of what can be still maintained, bearing in mind the new realities. And as I said, the agreement will never inevitably offer a solid contractual basis for the relations. It will be important politically, it will send an important political signal, but I think that it will also help the European Union to develop its cooperation activities in Armenia in a better way, probably even on a bigger scale, and they are important for Armenians. They are important in many fields of their lives, starting from joint activities with the Armenian government concerning the strengthening of democracy, rule of law, fight against corruption, strengthening the rule of law, strengthening the justice system, strengthening the public and modernizing the public administration, including things that relate to daily life of every Armenian citizen, how he or she is treated at courts, how strong the protection of his or her rights is in Armenia. Now, going to the economic side, yes, we want to work together with the Armenian government to improve the possibilities for the investment, foreign investment in Armenia. We want the business environment in Armenia to offer new possibilities for Armenians, but also for Europeans who want to do business with Armenia. So I hope that if we have a solid contractual basis, it will serve as encouragement to foreign investors, it will serve as encouragement to potential business partners and also international organizations to come and to work closer with Armenians. But I cannot measure the impact of the agreement in any concrete terms because, as I said, it is a legal and political document and it will not contain something which will change the lives of Armenians overnight. But I think that overall, in the long term, it will help Armenians to modernize the country, to improve the lives of ordinary Armenians.
Mr. Ambassador, last month I interviewed U.S. Ambassador Richard Mills in Yerevan, and the U.S. diplomat talked about the importance of fighting corruption in Armenia, saying that the U.S. is expecting from the Armenian government not just words, but also actions. And then we heard some comments from the senior Armenian officials saying that this is just an opinion expressed by the U.S. diplomat and the personal opinion. It's not reflecting U.S. position. I mean, you could see from these comments that they do not welcome statements like that. What's your take? How would you comment? I'm not saying to comment on the statements of the government officials, but how important for you is the fight against corruption in Armenia? If it is important, then how it could be reflected in the new framework agreement with the EU? Can you talk about this corruption issue? Because this is the single item that concerns everybody in the country. I assume also you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you for the question, and I agree with the starting point of your question. Fight against corruption is unbelievably important. But let's be clear. No European society, no European country is immune to corruption. If you look back, the last 5 years, several European governments were brought down by corruption scandals. Several ministers, even prime ministers, were indicted on corruption scandals. So it is not something that concerns only Armenia. No, it is a scourge of many societies. But the worst what can happen is the state of denial. If a country, if a society believes that corruption does not concern it, then we have a problem. I am optimistic concerning Armenia in the sense that we have documents. We have quite good documents. We have a strategy. We have now decisions establishing a body to deal with corruption. But again, the experience of other countries is the following. You can fight effectively corruption if you do it from up, down. There are problems that can be solved starting at the down level and going up, but corruption is a problem where you should start from the top, from top down. Otherwise, it will not work. We, as the European Union delegation, we will be soon meeting with Armenian authorities to discuss concrete ways to deal with corruption, corruption in justice. We have a meeting scheduled with the Minister of Justice, and my first encounter with the Minister was very encouraging. So we have a seminar where I'll be speaking on corruption, dealing with corruption in education. What we need, of course, is real action. It's difficult, but you know, I am Polish, and I can tell you very openly, I think that Poland 25 years ago was also plagued by corruption, and we are still not clean from corruption. But if you are determined, if you work hard, if you adopt strict rule of law principles, then you can have clear results. And you know, Poland, I think, has shown that corruption can be eradicated. It doesn't mean that we are satisfied, and the Polish society is still very critical about the state of things. But we need a recognition that we have a problem, and we need a joint action. The European Union is offering its helping hand. We are not imposing anything. We offer money, we offer experience, we offer practical ways to deal with corruption, and I agree with the assumption that corruption is a terrible thing. It kills the political system, it kills economic system, and it kills even society because it undermines the confidence, the human capital, and therefore probably without making a breakthrough here, you cannot achieve the expected results in economic reforms, in rule of law reforms and others. Let me also add the following. The worst what can happen in any society is when the population, the ordinary people, believe that nothing can be done about it. Apathy is a terrible problem. It's not even weaknesses of human nature that you have always guys, even at top positions, who are tempted by money. The worst is when ordinary people believe that simply you cannot do anything and you have to live with it. You have to accept it. But I hope that the Armenian society is far from it, and that together with us, with the European Union and other friendly countries, we can make a breakthrough. And this is something what constitutes for us a priority. Fight against corruption, and that is no secret about it. The government of Armenia knows it. Our NGO partners know it. Fight against corruption is one of our top priorities, and it is one of my personal priorities here in Armenia.
People believe that, the government officials themselves are the source of or risk of corruption. So how would you comment on this? What are you telling the Armenian government when you are meeting with them? And we know that the European Union is helping, some other projects as well, including this anti-corruption project, right? Am I right on this?
No, we need an alliance of all possible forces to fight corruption. We need a synergy. We need government, we need civil society, we need central authorities, we need local authorities, we need everyone who is concerned about the future of Armenia. And I believe it is possible. I have met already many government officials who are really concerned about the state of things. I referred to some events, some seminars, some conferences, and I think that these are frank statements. When you look at the future of Armenia from a long-term perspective, you need really a critical approach. Therefore, as I said, we need a big alliance. We need an alliance of Armenians, both from the government and from civil society, from central authorities and from local authorities, from all corners of the society. And we need also assistance of the international organizations, including European organizations, because I believe that some of us can bring experience, can bring expertise, which can be helpful to Armenians. Some of our societies in the European Union countries, and not only, have gone this way. They confronted even bigger corruption challenge than probably in Armenia. And let's learn from this experience, and I think there are plenty of people who are ready to share the experience. But you need a critical mass. You need a conviction starting at the top that this is something that requires, you know, a strong action.
Mr. Ambassador, and how about human rights and democracy? I know that these are big items on your agenda, and the European Union is with this new association agreement, or whatever you call it, in the future. I think these are the most important elements built into that perhaps legal framework. And now, can we be sure that after signing the agreement, EU will be closely monitoring, and if something goes wrong, will let the Armenian government know that it's not happy? Is there any leverage that you can influence Armenian government, Armenian officials on these very important matters, human rights, democracy, and can you tell us what's, if there is no economic component in this agreement, which was the DCFTA, how you can really push Armenian government to implement these obligations that it took?
I would like to strengthen, to make very clear the point that we are now already having a very frank dialogue with the Armenian authorities concerning the state of democracy, human rights and rule of law in this country. I can say that on the part of the European Union, we send very clear messages. And I think that these messages are reciprocated by a frank response from the Armenian side. I have met with government officials, I have met with the ombudsman, I have met with civil society. So I know the perception of things, including the human rights situation, from different angles. So the dialogue is already frank, and I hope that as part of the implementation of the new framework agreement, we will deepen the dialogue. So we are, I think, on a very frank mood with the Armenian side here. It's another question how and what should be done to improve the situation. Here probably some elements, some segments of the civil society would disagree with the government. But I wanted to say that the commitment of the European Union is strong. We are about to start to launch a big human rights support program with the Armenian government. I hope that the Armenian government will seize this opportunity to continue the path of reforms. There are a lot of elements that can be improved. The functioning of the justice system is one of the elements which is very important for the European Union. justice system is the backbone of everything, of the political fairness, of the economic fairness, and of the social cohesion. And here, as you know, we are ready to work together with the Ministry of Justice and other elements, including the courts, to improve the situation. Without restoring faith in the fairness of the justice system, Armenia will not be able to make a big leap forward, let's put it this way. There are other elements that are very important for us. The issue of non-discrimination, for instance. The issue of gender equality, very important for the European Union. And we will be working with the civil society, with the government, to make things change. Let's be frank, Armenia has covered a positive path. There has been a tangible progress. However, we know the deficiencies. We know the deficiencies, and we are ready as a friendly partner to help Armenians to improve the situation. I can tell you very openly that if the state of democracy, human rights, rule of law is strong in Armenia, then the prospects for our relations between the European Union and Armenia will always be bright, irrespective of what kind of political or economic alliances Armenia will belong to. Because the common values for us are the really important aspect of our relations. And you know, what I hear from the Armenian leaders is that Armenia wants to build relations with the European Union on the basis of common values. And that's quite natural because Armenians are organically Europeans. Armenians believe in the same values as other members of the big European family. Armenia is one of the cradles of European civilization. When I say rule of law, when I say human rights, I know that Armenians understand me very well. They believe in the same values. It's the question how to make these values work in practice, in everyday practice. And I think that we will be moving forward. And we are committed as the European Union to help Armenians to move forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for coming to our studio. If you have any message, special message, since you are new, and for how long you're gonna serve as ambassador? Is it 3 years term or assignment, or there is no term here?
The regular term for any ambassador is 4 years, and I hope that I can stay and work for the benefit of the European Union and Armenia the next 4 years. For the time being, I have been met with unusual warmth and friendliness, and I really appreciate this warmness. Armenians are hospitable, are friendly. I have enjoyed it so far, and I want to pay it back by working hard to make the link between the European Union and Armenia stronger. And I think that despite different developments in the past, it's doable. It's doable, and it's my intention. And believe me, the European Union has only positive agenda. We want to help, no strings attached. We have no hidden agenda in Armenia. We want Armenians to feel part of the bigger European family.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.